when the moon hits your eye.
Hi, I'm Donna-Marie from Relish Cooking Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make perfectly roast potatoes. First, we start off with our small potatoes, and make sure if you are using small potatoes or larger potatoes that you actually cut them all to an even size. I like to use the small little round gem potatoes because I find they make just the right size, but if you're using larger baking potatoes, then make sure you cut them into evenly chopped slices or evenly chopped sizes. Now I'm going to take the potatoes and I'm going to cut them lengthwise, and rather than, I'm going to show you, if I do them crosswise, I don't get as much of an even cooking surface as if I'm cutting them lengthwise. So I want to make sure I brown as much of the potato as possible. We're going to coat our potatoes, once they're sliced, in a little bit of olive oil. You could also use vegetable oil. And you really don't need to add very much. For this big bowl of potatoes, really just a couple tablespoons. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil over the top of the potatoes. And then the other ingredient that I'm going to add is a really wonderful product called smoked paprika, and that adds a really nice flavor to the roasted potatoes. And just about a teaspoon of smoked paprika is all you really need to add to your potatoes. That'll enhance the flavor but not overpower it. Okay. So then we're going to just take our wooden spoon and toss the potatoes in the mixture of olive oil and smoked paprika. Now I'm not adding any salt at this point. I'm going to add the salt at the end because adding the salt at the beginning will actually impede the cooking process, and we want it to go as quickly as possible. So this is where we'll just add these ingredients. And I won't even add any garlic at this point, because if I were to add some garlic and roast it, it might burn a little bit too quickly, and garlic gets quite bitter when it cooks. So it's better to add that at the last 5 minutes of the cooking process. Now we're going to put the potatoes on a baking pan, and make sure you've got a good heavy gauge baking pan to put them into. And I like to take them and lie them cut side down on the baking tray. Just like when you're baking cookies, the part that's on the pan kind of gets a little browner faster, so that's what putting them cut side down will do. I know lots of times people just sort of put their potatoes and toss them together and put them in a roasting pan, but it actually takes a little bit longer for your potatoes to cook that way than by actually taking the extra time to lay them down directly onto the roasting pan. Now our potatoes are ready to go into the oven, and before I do that, I'm just going to cover them with a layer of foil, because by covering them with foil, it allows the moisture to stay inside the pan, and it lets the potatoes cook a little bit faster. So I'm just going to cover this pan with the foil, and then put them into a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Okay, let's take our potatoes out of the oven. Check for doneness. They look beautiful and perfect. So now what we're going to do is flip them over and finish them so that the other side can get browned up really nicely. So we're just going to pop those potatoes with the foil off back in the oven for another 5 minutes or so, just to finish browning on the other side. Okay, our potatoes are ready to come out of the oven now after the last 5 minutes of baking. They look beautiful and they smell amazing. And now's the point at which we're going to add the salt. So just do a little sprinkle of kosher salt or sea salt over the top of the potatoes, and they're ready to serve.
When the moon